Welcome to Momentum, a show where we break down the biggest issues facing women's sports. Brought to you by Nike. I'm Kat Sasso, and each week I'll be joined by some of the biggest names in women's sport, athletes, experts, and trailblazers as we dive deep into the world of women's sports. From the grassroots to the global stage, we'll explore the full spectrum of challenges, victories, and everything in between. This is your inside look at the real stories, the hard conversations, and the exciting momentum driving change. This week, I'm joined by the CEO and co-founder of Femmi and Nike Pacific run coach Lydia O'Donnell. Today's guest is a true pioneer in the world of women's sport and fitness. Lydia O'Donnell has not only been a top-level runner, but she's also making waves as the CEO and co-founder of Femmi, a platform dedicated to empowering women through better understanding of their bodies and optimizing their approach to running. From competing at the elite level to coaching with Nike, Lydia has spent years breaking barriers, redefining what it means to be a female athlete and pushing for a shift in how we think about women's health in sport. But Lydia's journey isn't just about performance. It's about creating a space where women's health is prioritized, from training and recovery to the mental challenges that come with it. And through her work with Femmi, she's not only changing the way women approach their fitness, but also shaping a new narrative around strength, recovery, and balance. In today's episode, we'll dive deep into Lydia's experience as a former athlete, how her personal journey led her to co-found Femmi, and the importance of a holistic approach to training. We'll also explore the future of women's sport and how Lydia is helping women to unlock their full potential. Lydia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, you have had such an incredible journey. You started as an elite runner to Nike Pacific run coach to now the CEO and co-founder of Femmi. Can you take me back to the beginning? What first sparked your love for running?
Oh, I was a super competitive kid. I was just really driven and just loved sport. And I started athletics when I was about 7 years old. And by the time I was a teenager, I had found this incredible running coach in my hometown who was a Commonwealth Games champion and also a high school teacher at my school. And she really just took me under her wing and really taught me the importance of enjoying sport and not putting too much pressure on myself as a young girl and just really using it as a connection point to find friends and socialize. And I mean, I owe her everything because she instilled so many great values in me at such a young and important age. And by the time I was about 19, I won my first national title. And it was very much thanks to my coach at high school holding me back, because by the time I was 18, I'd kind of gone through puberty and my body was ready to push myself. And when I won that national title, I guess for me, that was a real eye-opener to I have potential in the sport and I can really do this. Coming off the back of that national title, I got picked up by a training squad and our main sponsor was Nike. So I was so lucky to be in a position to be supported by this incredible global sports brand at such a young age when I was definitely good. I grew up in New Zealand and I was good for New Zealand. I was definitely not competing on the world stage and winning, the Olympics at that time. I was just really driven and passionate and competitive. And then I guess I found this confidence in the sport as well. And so throughout my 20s, I just competed and loved it and was representing New Zealand at the time. I ran my first marathon when I was 25, which is still considered quite young to be running marathons, but I just threw myself into it. It was the Melbourne Marathon was my first one, which was epic. And from there, I just loved the 42K distance. It was a real challenge, and it still is a huge challenge. I think running any distance is a huge feat for anybody, but 42Ks is really tough on the body and the mind. And I just have loved being able to push myself through those distances since then.
Yeah, that's really great. I am not a runner yet. We have been speaking off camera, and I think I've been swayed to try it. But I think for those at home who might not be into running and not really understand the way that it works, can you explain to me marathon running and how you prepare for that and how you physically and mentally prepare for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge journey and it takes so long for your body to get conditioned to the load that it requires to run 42 Ks. I think even now, a lot of us underestimate the work that needs to go into years and years of training to get your body conditioned to be able to maintain and withstand the load that it takes to
Mhm.
run that distance. For me, I ran my first marathon at 25 and I'm now nearly 35, 10 years later, and I'm still terrified of the distance. And every training block and every race I do is so different. Every race teaches you something new about yourself. And the mental struggle of the race is you can't even explain it. It's so hard. And the beauty of it is that you do hard things and we do hard things and we realize that we can do them. And that's where like this huge confidence piece comes into play, because when you prove to yourself that you can kind of work through tough things like running and like running marathons, you just gain a whole new level of confidence in yourself and belief in yourself that you can do it. So I urge everybody to try running it. It doesn't have to be a marathon. It can be any distance, because you just don't know what you're capable of until you try it.
Absolutely. And Femmi is all about empowering women through running and understanding their bodies better. What was the light bulb moment for you when you thought about this and came up with the idea for Femmi and thought this needs a place
Mm.
in women's health and fitness?
Yeah, it was a long journey for me. I started representing New Zealand when I was 19, and I was kind of thrust into this high performance industry of sport where I had male coach after male coach, and unfortunately, our male coaches didn't have really any understanding around female physiology or psychology. At the time, I just didn't think about it at all, to be honest. I just accepted that whatever I was told and how I was trained was how I was meant to be trained without really questioning it, because I was so competitive. You also put so much respect and trust into your leaders in your sport. And so when I was about 19, 20, I was under these male coaches, and unfortunately, there was this narrative in our sport back then, and it somewhat still stands today, that you have to fit into a mold to be a good athlete. And I was constantly being told that if I was in a smaller body, if I weighed less, if I carried less weight, that I would be a better or more competitive athlete. And when I was about 20, I remember, and it's a pretty traumatic experience for me to think back about, because I just feel so sad for my younger self. But my male coach came up and grabbed my stomach and said, "Oh, if you lost that, you'd be a faster runner." And that moment, along with the entire narrative that I was fed for years, led me down a pretty severe 5-year journey of pretty bad body image issues. Talking about confidence, I lost a heap of confidence in myself throughout all of that. And I just was constantly questioning my body and myself. And I put so much weight into my appearance and my aesthetics, and actually stopped forgetting about how I should just be running and how I can be training and how strong I am. And so after about a 5-year battle of disordered eating and body image issues, by the age of about 25, I lost my period and my menstrual cycle was really disrupted. And I kind of had no idea what was going on at the time, because no one had talked to me about it. Like, no one had talked to me about how having a regular cycle is a good thing. No one really celebrated that at the time. Periods and menstrual cycles were so taboo back then. And when I lost my period, I almost thought it was like a badge of honor, because so many women athletes were losing their periods. It was kind of like, oh, if you can get to that, that means you're going to be a good runner. There is what we know now. It's called relative energy deficiency syndrome in sport. We call it RED-S for short. And part of RED-S is menstrual cycle adaptation or dysfunction. And your periods can become dysfunctional or can be completely lost. And I didn't know any of this at the time. I just lost my period. And then 3 months later, I was suffering such severe fatigue, I couldn't run any longer, that I ended up having to take almost 2 years off to let my body
Wow.
heal.
Yeah.
And that was really the moment for me to be like, clearly what I'm doing isn't right for my body. I remember looking in the mirror one day and I just looked so unwell and so drained, and I knew something had to change. And so strangely, I got given a book at that moment, and kind of it was like the universe heard me, and I picked up this book called Raw, which is spelled ROAR, and it's written by a physiologist called Dr. Stacey Sims. And Dr. Stacey is really the queen of female physiology and really sparking the conversations around her tagline is women are not small men. And my mind was completely blown. I read this book and I was ashamed, embarrassed that I didn't know anything about my body. Not only am I at this point about 27 years old, I also am an elite athlete where my body is my tool and my career. And I was just frustrated that no one had taught me about my cycle. To that point, I thought my period and my menstrual cycle were the same thing. I had no idea that my period was just one phase of my cycle. And even now, when I speak to women, you can see that, a lot of women still carry that shame and embarrassment that they don't know that. And it's not their fault. It's a real systemic issue that we're trying to solve at Femmi. And yeah, I went on this journey of just self-discovery and learning what my body needed to function correctly, what training I should be doing because my hormones are constantly changing. My training needs to constantly be changing. And within about 18 months to 2 years of adapting my training to my cycle, fueling myself correctly, and recovering and resting correctly, I broke every PB from the 5K to the marathon. So that was really the moment. At that point, I'd been working with Nike for about 10 years. I was in the Nike Run coaching role for about 5 years, and I just felt this huge responsibility alongside my best friend Esther, who I've started Femmi with. We felt this responsibility to not just change the way women are training, but also change the narrative of what exercise can do for women. It's not about our appearance and it's not about weight loss. It's about feeling good in our bodies and building confidence in ourselves.
Yeah, and it's obviously such a massive thing now that we're switching the culture in women's health is moving away from what you look like and you're only doing these things and you're only working out and running and going to the gym or swimming. You're only doing those things because of what you look like. You're doing those things because they're feeding your body, they're making you feel healthy and they're making you feel good. And
Definitely.
obviously the whole ethos behind Femmi is to help women feel good while also understanding their bodies. How did your experiences through training and with your own health challenges and obviously your menstrual cycle as well, how did that actually directly affect the philosophy behind Femmi?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything we talk about at Femmi and at Nike is just empowering women in movement. And my relationship with exercise for so long was tied to my appearance. And then I learned about my body and I learned what it needed. I actually stopped even thinking about what I looked like and focusing on my performance. Everything we talk about at Nike is our performance and how good we can feel and what goals we can crush and what barriers we can break through movement. And at Femmi, we're trying to educate women so they know the best way to achieve their goals through sustainable training that is actually aligning their hormones to their training and adapting throughout the cycle. So everything that I learned through my journey is exactly what we try to do and the education we try to provide at Femmi. And in the Nike app, in the Nike Run Club app, we have audio guided runs, and I actually have an audio guided run with Dr. Stacey Sims, who wrote the book that I read when I was very early on my journey, and we speak all about the menstrual cycle and adapting the training to the cycle. So you should definitely start there and go and listen to it. It's a 60-minute run, or you can listen to it in 2 30-minute runs if you want to break it up.
That is such a full circle moment. What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh, crazy. So I had read that book maybe 2 or 3 years prior to being asked to do the guided run with Dr. Stacey Sims. And I remember getting the call from Nike about it. And at that time, I don't think Nike was aware of the education that I'd been going through on my own with Stacey, because I'd done her online courses and I was heavily invested into educating myself. And it was, again, like the universe was listening. I was like, wow, this is so weird. Stars are aligning. Stacey, to me, is a huge inspiration. The work that she's done in this space has completely changed the way that women are training and competing and playing sport now. And it's just incredible to have Nike kind of get behind both of us and help us spread the education as well.
And as the Nike Pacific Run coach, you've worked with runners at every stage of their journey. Not only that, you've worked your way up through the ranks at Nike. Can you tell me about that journey?
Yes, it's I really love sharing my journey and my career at Nike because it's really gone in so many different directions. And when I first started working with Nike, I signed my first contract as an athlete when I was 19. And by the time I was about 21, 22, I had joined the brand team in more of a promotional role and helping build Nike Run Club in Auckland without the coaching kind of role as part of it. And at that point, it was really the first time I was exposed to running and sport outside of my own performance as an elite athlete. And I got to see people of all walks of life come together, run together. And it's not necessarily about winning nationals or, running the fastest PBs. It was purely about bringing people together, connecting through movement. And my mind was like blown by the desire that people had to go on their own running journeys when they weren't being super competitive. And that's really, I guess, where my coaching desires came from, was wanting to help other people on their own running journey so they can be the best athletes they can be, even if they aren't going to the Olympic Games. And so I worked in the marketing team in Nike New Zealand for 5 years. And as part of that role, I got to experience kind of all sides of the brand. And I hadn't gone to university to study marketing. I actually did a Bachelor of Science at university. And through my role at Nike, I was just so exposed to the world of the swoosh and the power of the brand and the power that it had on people, the inspiration that people gained from the brand to take up sport themselves. And so I loved it, and I got to go to like events, I got to go do promotional work, I got to do media work, I got to, do brand marketing. And the one thing that I loved and still love to this day is working with athletes and coaching. So after 5 years, I stepped away from the brand marketing role and stayed on as the Nike Run coach. And from there, I've just completely loved my role, and I feel so lucky to be able to do what I do every day.
Yeah, and coaching women is so much more than just, writing up a plan. It's about supporting them as people. How do you approach building that trust with the people that you coach?
Yeah, I think what we've seen, particularly over the last few months, we have been working towards the Nike After Dark Tour here in Sydney, which we had a few weeks ago. And, over 7,000 women came together and ran together. And there was just like this beautiful connection amongst women. And I think that's what I have found over the last 4 to 5 years of building Femmi and working with Nike, is just seeing the power of bringing women together and building this really supportive community where women feel safe, supported, heard, seen, being given guidance that's really specific to them. It just gives them so much confidence to know that they can go and do hard things like run a half marathon. And I think that's what I've loved the most, is just seeing this kind of connection point and being that facilitator of bringing women together.
And what was it like to see so many women come together to do that run, especially at nighttime, which is generally a time where a lot of women don't feel safe going outside? How did that feel for you to be able to contribute to that and to give women a safe space to actually do that?
Yeah, it was so amazing. I was so lucky. I got to be at the start line with all the women, and then I got to be at the finish line. I think I was maybe there for 3 hours just cheering the women in. And I don't know if you've ever been to the finish of a race, but it's one of the most beautiful places in the world to be, because people carry so much pride as they get across that finish line. And not only were the women getting across the finish line, they were doing it hand in hand. Like, they were hugging each other, they were running across, holding hands, arms in the air. Like, it was just so beautiful to see so many women support each other and crush their goals and feel that pride of, I did the work to get here and this is all on me, but I'm doing it with the community.
And we're seeing a massive rise in the way that running is creating new communities. We're seeing the rise of run clubs. We're seeing people running together. It's no longer a solo sport in the way that it may have been in the past. How nice is that for you to see, and how important is it for you to be able to contribute to that, especially with Femmi?
Oh, it's so incredible. So, like I was saying before, we started Nike Run Club. I think it was in 2011. And that was, for me, the first time of bringing runners together that weren't doing it at a professional level. And Nike handed the keys over to the community in about 2018, and it's just completely exploded over the last 5 years. And a big part of that was going through COVID and people like really seeking connection and seeking a form of movement that was accessible to everybody. And now there's just thousands and thousands of run clubs. And Femmi, of course, is part of that. And I think there is just room for everybody. What we offer at Femmi is a very safe and supportive community for women where all paces and everyone is welcome. And then they'll find some run clubs that are about pace and they're about speed and they're about going out there and absolutely smashing yourself. And that's cool too, because the beautiful thing about running is to have a good periodized training program, you need variety in your running. So having a variety of run clubs is so empowering, so people can really find their niche, what they need to like be the best athlete and do that with others as well.
And have you got advice for people who might be thinking of starting their running journey or they've just started their running journey? Have you got any advice for them on how to kind of approach?
Yeah, I think specifically for women, it's really important to understand your body, where you're at, and what you need so that you can run sustainably. And I hone into this word sustainability all the time because I see too many runners come in, smash themselves, set these really big, lofty goals in a short amount of time, really like go for it, and maybe get to their goal, but they've probably overtrained. They've probably pushed their body. They probably didn't have the best time doing it. They maybe do their goal and then walk away and never want to run again. And so my big thing is like, give yourself the time and be patient with your body and know what your body needs. And I can almost guarantee you'll run forever. But for women, it's really like start tracking your menstrual cycle, knowing where you're at in your cycle, if you have a cycle that is, and then start to learn what your body needs throughout your cycle, because some women are going to feel really good in their follicular phase, which is at the start of their cycle. Some women are going to feel really good maybe in the middle of their cycle. You need to know where kind of those peaks and troughs of energy are, and then really play into that in your training, because it will allow you to spend more time recovering when you need to, which means you're going to prevent your injuries and prevent burnout, and then actually be able to continue to back training up. So it's a real journey, and I think that's what I love about running. It's not just like go out and run. It's like a self-discovery journey as well.
How do you see Femmi and similar platforms shifting the conversation around women's health and women's fitness and women's sports?
I'm so excited about the future of what we're building at Femmi alongside Nike. It's so incredible to now have give women a platform that they can have at all times where they can learn about their bodies and feel good in their bodies and stop focusing on the way that they look and start focusing on what your bodies can achieve over time. Through Femmi, we are so much about the education piece. We have a team of women's health experts, 6 of them, from endocrinologists to dietitians to psychologists, physiologists. Like, these women are the best of the best at what they do, and to be able to bring all of their knowledge to life. And not only are we just giving women this education, it's aligning to something they love doing, which is running, right? So if you can actually encourage educating women alongside their running journey, I think there's so much power in that. And I'm just so excited for women to like have those moments that I had when I was 27 of like, whoa, I knew nothing about my body and now I do. There is so much potential for what I can achieve, because imagine if I did what I did last year, but I did it correctly and I did it like doing the training that I needed to do. Imagine where I can get to. And I think that what excites me about women's sport in general is these women now are breaking so many barriers. We're seeing PBs and world records like being smashed left, right, and center. And it's so exciting because finally the science is actually being done around how women need to train and what women need, as well as their psychology, like how women should be talked to allow them to feel as confident as possible to then go out and smash their goals. So I'm just so excited to see what women can be doing in the next 5-10 years.
I love that so much. This season on Momentum, we are putting together a playbook to success. So I have been asking all of our guests to give me one piece of their holy grail advice. So it might be professional advice. In your case, it might be running advice. It might be a beauty hack. It's just one thing that for you is undeniably the key to success. So what would be your piece of advice?
Oh, that's a tough one because I feel like there are so many that I've learned throughout my own journey. I think the biggest one, and as cliche as it sounds, is don't compare yourself to anybody else. I think the world that we live in right now, comparison is really like shoved down our throats. And when it comes to particularly wellness and movement and sport, you are on your own journey and you have to know what you need to be the best you. And for me, unlocking that completely changed my relationship with myself and my relationship with my sport. And I just wish that for every woman, that they can just really focus on themselves, and over time to see the progress that you make. There is nothing quite like looking back and being proud of that progress. So that's what I want women to take away, is just like focus on yourself and know what you need.
That's really great. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm definitely going to be taking all of this because, like I said to you earlier, I hopefully by the next time that I see you, I've gone for a couple runs. But thank you again so much for joining us today. And thank you so much to everyone at home for keeping up with us here on Momentum. You can catch us anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, you can find us on Binge. I've been Kat Sasso, and we'll see you next time.